Hello and welcome to another episode of Ecosystem Insights. This is a little short precursor video to the episode that we've got coming. It's going to be a developer-oriented episode, which is slightly different than the dApps that we've been covering prior. And Fez, what can you tell us about what the listeners are going to see and hear?
So we see at the moment, especially if you follow CPS, tooling. This episode is all about tooling, and tooling that is in line with Icon's strategic direction, which is XCOM. Yeah, so kind of super excited because this is not your typical episode me and David bring you, and it's a lot of dev jargon in there, I'll say that, but we definitely ask a lot of probing questions to break it down, to simplify it. But one of the key reasons we wanted to do an intro message is we know our diehard community members are listening to this. Make sure you get the teams that you follow who are actively building, or anyone taking part in the incentivized testnet, things like that. If you know they're around, get them to listen to this episode, because some of this particular tooling set with Kurtosis and what HugoByte have done with DIVE is what will enable these teams to build and test far quicker than the current setups that are there. So it was actually, David, really fascinating. Like we've recorded it and now we're making the intro, and as the conversation transpired, you could just see me and David get excited because we were having these aha moments and thinking it was very cool, and it was like, yeah, okay, can't wait for this to get finished and get in the hands of developers.
Yeah, well said. So let's dive right in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ecosystem Insights with today Irfan and Derek, both from HugoByte and Kurtosis, joining us. Guys, thanks for coming. And of course, my co-host Fez is in the building. Fez, thanks for showing up too. Very excited to get this one started. We're going to be talking about Kurtosis. We're going to be talking about the DIVE project. But before we get into all of that, I guess I could ask you guys to maybe introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your team and your roles in the team. Starting with Derek.
Sure. So, hey, everyone. My name is Derek. I'm a product manager at Kurtosis, and my Web3 journey actually started only in June of last year. And so at Kurtosis, what I'm focused on is helping ensure current Kurtosis and future Kurtosis is a valuable tool in the arsenal of Web3 devs. And so we're building an open source dev tool to make it very easy to develop and test the Web3 infrastructure. And genuinely, our mission is to make building these complex systems as easy as possible. And so we hope this tool can help drive the next generation of cross-chain apps for the Icon ecosystem.
All right, thank you.
Derek, I have to ask, wait, 1 year? So is it like you got into crypto a year ago? Oh, so it's
14 months, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. So literally at the tail end of the bull market.
Indeed. Yes, I timed it well.
Excellent. Yes, that's how I commenced my journey as well. So no, as in years before, 2 cycles before, but right at the top of a bull market. But okay, good to know. So you've started your Web3 journey and you're right in there building, which is fantastic.
Correct.
Cool.
Yes. Thank you.
Irfan.
Hi everyone. So I'm Mohammed Irfan. I'm CEO of HugoByte Network Labs. So we have been with the Icon for quite some time, for almost 2 to 3 years, and we have been supporting developing the BTP and IBC, and we are one of the main peer-ups of the Icon blockchain. So being part of the Icon ecosystem, our major contribution, as said earlier, like in the advancement of interoperability space of Icon. So at HugoByte, we believe blockchains should be interoperable. The value should basically be transformed from one place to another. There should be a value flow happen. So we are trying our level best to make sure that our vision comes true, and we want to have a cross-chain ecosystem to be widely available for and open for everyone. So
Yep.
that's
love it. Thanks, Irfan. Okay. So I want to just jump right in. So, because like when I saw Kurtosis, I didn't know what it was. I actually then nagged Irfan, who then gave me a bit of a download on what it's about. And then I had to explain it in my own words to kind of go, is this what it means? And Irfan confirmed it. And so all our viewers will probably be thinking the same thing. And generally, we haven't tackled that more dev heavy tooling and things like that in our podcast. So this is quite kind of super exciting for me and David as well, to see if we can follow along with what today's topics are going to cover. So Derek, I want to just I'm going to throw it to you. Kurtosis, what is it? You work for them, you're a product manager. What is the actual product?
Cool, yeah. So Kurtosis is an open source dev tool. What that means, it's like free forever and meant for engineers specifically. And so you can think of this tool as a way for an engineer to kind of define how their system should look like. So it's like a recipe or a set of instructions. And so we provide a framework for writing those instructions and packaging it all up and making it very easy to use. And once you have this set of instructions, you can feed it into our Kurtosis, and Kurtosis will handle building it all for you, basically. So a lot of the use cases that we've seen is, having with a single command, you spin up multiple blockchain nodes in like under 5 minutes, because someone put in the effort to write the definition, and then you pass it along to the engine to use so that you can kind of spin up a lot of stuff like a dApp sandbox, for example. So if you're building a dApp, you need a bunch of different tools as part of your kind of toolkit. You can spin that all up effortlessly, basically. And so again, our mission is to make building really complex systems as simple as possible. And we believe that this is one of the core ways to do it, is to make it very easy for an engineer to write once the instructions for their environment and to spin it up very effortlessly. Yeah.
A question, is that always been Web3? Because it sounds like something that would work in any computer development environment.
You're 100%. So we were born in the Web3 space, and we're starting with Web3 because this is like where the most complex systems are. But you're indeed correct. We can use it for anything, really. Any microservices-based architecture. So like Twitter on your phone, yeah, any apps as well.
Yeah. Just curious, the Kurtosis engine, is it like, because it's open source, so but can you tell, like, are there a lot of projects who've hopped onto this and that are using Kurtosis already? Do you have like numbers? Are you growing in adoption, or is it still something that needs to be getting out there?
So this is definitely our focus right now. Our biggest kind of L1 project that I can name is the Ethereum Foundation. Among others are the Avalabs team building Avalanche. We're in talks with a few other projects as well. The Near Foundation, I believe, is another one that may have been mentioned as well. And so the engineers there are kind of using it to improve their network genuinely, or to build things for their community, so that everyone's building on the same kind of set of instructions, so that they can spend more time building their dApps, building the unique properties of their blockchain, and less time dealing with like all the tooling under the hood and like how to manage things. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So you build that now. Here comes Irfan, who has been building on Icon, and he has experienced all the struggles imaginable. And he looks at your package, and what do you do, Irfan? How do you take that and go, I can use this to make, I can't believe I'm going to say this, make Icon great again. But what do you do there? How does this happen?
Yeah. So first, when I saw Kurtosis, it was way before the Starlock release. Actually, it was like a little bit of configuration language. But it was having the setup to the Near. So while we're developing the BTP with Near, we kind of came across Kurtosis, and we have used that for local setup. But from that point and now, the Kurtosis have evolved dramatically and like crazy evolution. So one thing that the Kurtosis had done was the introduction of Starlock language. So that probably gave us way how we can configure these multiple chains, and basically like being worked on cross-chain ecosystem. So we faced like certain difficulty, like to bring up the nodes, especially like setting up the contracts, and setting, there'll be some pre-setups that we need multiple contracts to be deployed, and before one contract there should be other contracts should be deployed. So these kind of difficulty we face. So Kurtosis was our problems over basically. So we use Kurtosis package directly, and we had created the scripts, and it was working amazing. So then from there on we created a one-click tool, like, so that it's going to be under the hood, it's going to use Kurtosis SDKs, and it can basically be used even for tooling, for building smart contracts, and much other functionalities like setting up the bridges, all within within one command. So it's going to make the for the user, it's going to be a smooth experience for the developers.
Okay, and this is DIVE, right? So
Right,
this is
exactly.
yeah. So this is an off script. Is it? So a lot of the, how you said near Ethereum, they all use Kurtosis, and once you start building DIVE, which is a specific use case in Icon setup, but can you then start leveraging as more adoption happens for Kurtosis? Does it help a lot of the newer tools getting built because you have a lot of the like pre-made, processes for the various chains, or is it like starting ground up for a different product?
Oh, in fact, the Kurtosis has built in a way that it is highly composable. So we can compose these packages from multiple repos, and we will be putting all together in Dive, so that user just need to have only Dive, right? So they need not to have any external tools. Let's say somebody moving from near their, like, they need the near build tools like Cargo, and when they go for Ethereum, they need Ethereum related tools. So they need not to have everything, they need not to install, or dependent on that. So they just need to have Dive will have everything pre-set up, pre-built, installed, and when the new chain comes, and like, we can basically compose those things, and we can give access to the users through Dive. So Dive will be like one-stop shop for the like hosting developers.
Very cool. So I'm a dev, awesome dev, just brilliant.
Awesome.
And I come in, I wanna start building, doing some stuff here, and I find Dive, and Dive as a dev would enable me to. At the moment, we're building BTP, Xcall, we're doing Xcall over IBC Archway. As long as a Dive package has all that built in, I can just click it. It'll deploy the entire setup as if I've got all these integrations live locally, obviously, but I have a simulation of these blockchains, of the entire system, the way it's currently deployed on testnet, mainnet. So as a dev, I can start, building my kick-ass dApp that's going to send messages across, Archway to Neutron to this to that, any chain possible that's connected via Xcall, and that Dive package will enable that to happen. Versus at the moment, if we've got the BTP repo, someone goes and runs like the end-to-end demo, sets up the local machine for that, then they have to set up a separate script for Archway that runs and then deploys IBC. So they would have to go through 3, 4, 5 different repos and then get the ideal setup and go, okay, now where do I start? Dive fixes all of that. One click, bam, everything's set up.
Exactly. You got that right.
What a great developer.
You just got
Thank you. I'm pretty awesome like that.
Yeah, because I was actually going to ask Irfan. I was going to say, what icon task does Dive come in and speed up? And then you came in and you gave like a massive blurb, but I didn't completely follow Fez. So I'm going to ask Irfan again. Can you give me an example, or maybe 2 examples of tasks that without Dive would maybe take me a day or 2 or 6, and with Dive are sped up to a certain extent, like within the icon ecosystem, that would be.
Sure. So if we consider a cross-chain developer like who want to work with Xcall, so they would, as Faiz said, they would have to clone the BTP repo and BTP, and they have to basically deploy all these nodes like using Docker Compose, and there'll be a set of bash script which is actually kind of little bit difficult, but they just have to run multiple steps like using at the moment I think there is a bash script and a make script to basically run these nodes. So when we think in terms of adding a new chain, again the process basically replicates. So user will have to basically modify, clone the repo, and they have to replicate all these steps again and again. And comes one other thing that we are actually doing is the smart contract build. So at the moment, it's we have not added that feature. We are behind the scenes working on that. Even for that also, there will be like some pre-setups that would be needing. An environment should be like, let's say, Gradle installed. There will be some dependencies that need to be installed. So we are resolving all that issues using DIVE and Kurtosis. So we'll have all these pre-setup ready, and the user just within just one click, they just can run this using the DIVE. They just can execute this whole chain. So with one command, they'll have both the chains, let's say icon chain and ETH, and they will have the bridge setup, all the smart contract deployed, all the presets are done, a relay will be executed, everything will be done with DIVE in a single command. So eventually, that is going to be when more and more chain comes, the more value will be seen only when more and more chain comes. So when right now icon is connecting with ETH, and when icon wants to connect with Arcway, Neutron, and all these things, it's going to be a huge value add for the ecosystem. So they just need not to, basically pull all these other tools. All the DIVE will just ease every setup for them.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Actually, I don't know if I'm running ahead with this, but more chains will get connected with Xcall, and I'm now assuming that DIVE is something that's going to remain maintained and expanded on as tooling. And I've seen it pop up on xcall.dev in the documentation. It's right there for users to access already as well, and they can just go ahead and do that today.
Yes, definitely.
Well,
so on this, so as it keeps getting updated, this is where then like, let's say Nia, eventually we connect to Nia, potentially then Nia could use this package, teams that are building in Nia use it to deploy and have this set up, because suddenly say they're connected to IBC via it, and to send messages, and they may not necessarily want or have any need or to do anything with Icon, but thanks to the interoperable features and the Xcall being connected to various chains, they can still utilize these tools to aid them in the development process, right? So while at the moment it's easing the process for builders in the Icon ecosystem, or builders who want to adopt Xcall, over time, as you keep maintaining this package and it grows bigger, it could be marketable, presented to other communities. That just, like I said, not building on Icon, focused on other chains.
Yes. So also right now developers can use not just for creating bridge, they can just spin up a single nodes. Like at the moment, they can just spin up the icon node itself just for them to have the local setup done for developing the smart contracts. And in future, there will be like a provision for adding local chain trackers like explorers, so that developers will be able to track the transactions, what happened in their local chain. So right now it is like kind of difficult. So as a developer, they will be easy to use with CLI, but always UI plays a major role there, right? UI will ease the thing, so it will be much more easy for developers with the UI there to track the transactions through the local explorers. That is also something that is upcoming.
Well, that's pretty cool. What about and tell me if I've got this wrong, but could it be set up where when you spin up the local instances come deployed with, as you said, with these smart contracts, like certain applications, like say certain chains have certain applications, a part of the spin up, can they opt in with various applications to be deployed on the local instances, or that's not the case?
No, it is possible. So let's say if we can basically add new Kurtosis scripts for the other applications, and that can actually be Kurtosis can be directly used to spin up those applications combined with DIVE.
Okay, cool. I'm asking that because obviously that's the next thing, because after that happens, then the apps get deployed, and that's how they'll start using it for testing purposes. Okay, cool. I think I'm just getting into the granular details. So, David, you were talking about where to find. So coming back to Kurtosis. So, Derek, how do teams, like if teams want to work, what are some other interesting use cases it can be used for. So I think we focus and I understand the local, setting up the local chain so that people can then deploy their apps on their computers. So they're, not actually using testnet. It's a version of the chain. But is there any other particular use cases or intriguing use cases you're seeing Kurtosis adopted, used for?
Yeah, so in Web3 specifically, there are two that I'll call out. Both of them are highly applicable to the Icon ecosystem. The first of which is our work in the production use case. So this mends well with the incentivized testnet initiative that you guys are pushing. This is I don't even have to be technical. I can go to the web app and press a button and it would deploy an Icon node. And I can start staking. It's mine, so I can start managing it. I can deploy more than one. I can, handle who owns it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the first one. And we're going to be delivering a V0 of this capability in about 3 weeks. The other use case is actually for protocol developers. So this is people actually building the blockchain. So this is maybe like you have on the roadmap, there's a major upgrade upcoming. So how do you test that those upgrades will actually work the way they intend to? You do it on a testnet, and then that kind of messes up everything on the testnet for other people. And you can't really do it on a production like real mainnet, or else you're going to mess up real dApps and put those funds and assets at risk. So what are your options, right? You're going to do the thing that you described earlier. Go to these multiple repos, set it all up, put in all that work to have this like sandbox environment. And that's only for you, Fez. Like, what about David? And he has to do it all as well at the same time. And maybe he messed it up, and maybe you guys have different setups as well. So how do you ensure they're all going to work together the same way? And then test the thing that you want to test and validate those like upgrades and functionalities. And so that is actually, that second use case is the largest use case that we have so far with a lot of L1s. And then beyond Web3, there's obviously a ton of applications as well. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, but you mentioned Kurtosis obviously being an open source project. So let's say you're a developer listening to this and you find this a very interesting and helpful piece of tooling. What are some more of the technical details that you could feed them, or how could they get involved with Kurtosis and Kurtosis open source development?
Yeah, so because it's open source, we have our GitHub repo is anyone and everyone can go check it out. The Kurtosis engine, as I mentioned before, learning how to write those instructions using Starlark, as Irfan mentioned, is also in our documentation for guides and stuff. And as something that I'm working very hard on recently is putting out more guides, content, and just like documentation to get folks started as soon as possible. Really, our intent is to build the framework for people to build stuff, just like Irfan and HugoByte are doing on top. So any and all like contributions and questions are welcome. Yeah.
Do you find more teams such as Irfan's in other ecosystems who are doing a similar or something a similar approach with Kurtosis, like building something that is powered by Kurtosis the way that it is with DIVE?
Yeah, so Irfan was at HugoByte, and Irfan's team is actually the first one that we came across with this kind of a model. There's another partner that we have called CodeLink that has also kind of approached us with the same kind of setup. But traditionally, what we've encountered is that the actual ecosystem, the part like the core developers or the foundation, they're the ones that come and pick up Kurtosis and use it for themselves. And so this is a new model that we're exploring, and we're very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so then Irfan, like you're building away. So DIVE is CPS funded. Great work on that. And we've seen now the second round of proposals come through. So where for the start, where do we find, like, is DIVE got its own repo? Where can devs go to find it? Is the first one out already? So Ethereum, I believe, Icon and Ethereum, the setup is there. Everyone can go and start using it. Are we at that stage yet?
Yes. So at the moment we have like the repo is will be always open source, and we have it under HugoByte. And at the moment we have the documentation available wherein the developers can check the Xcode Dive documentation, and they can use the Dive CL. Basically, they will get the instructions there that will help them a lot to get started with Dive. So they can deploy the chain. They'll have all the configuration, everything available in the Xcall there. And we are also will be able to support through the Discord, wherein in the Xcall test also will be like if some developers who have facing some issues, so they can definitely come to the Xcall testing, and we'll be there on to support them in all the ways.
Okay, so that's the Icon Discord in one of the
Yes.
Xcall channels. Okay,
Yes.
awesome, awesome. And at the moment, so we've tackled where we're at. So at the moment, you can use it and set up Icon and ETH.
Yes.
Does it include Binance Smart Chain as well?
No, it's just Icon and ETH. So ETH and hard hat.
Okay, okay. And the next proposal that's just, I believe, now going through up for voting, looks like it's going to pass. Great work. That's going to expand to what other chain? Just Archway?
Yeah, it's for Archway, and eventually we'll be supporting the Cosmos ecosystems also.
Okay, so more of the Cosmos ecosystems. Cool.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, well, that was my next question. Roadmap. What's the game plan with the roadmap? So you want to really target the IBC space and make it so that so then this, what I said earlier, comes into effect, that once you adopt more Cosmos chains, all of a sudden it can be like the IBC teams can use this, nothing to do with Icon, but they can still set up their locals in one click under the IBC framework, because it is IBC that they're deploying, and should have instant access to the IBC channels and relays and etc.
Exactly. Also, one other exciting feature is, as we are bringing the smart contract build, Kurtosis is also having the cloud setup. So in fact, if some developers need to build the smart contracts, they can just build in the cloud itself, but they wouldn't need to use the resources to build, especially a Rust smart contract. It takes huge amount of time and efforts to basically build these contracts in the local PC. So with the support of Kurtosis cloud, we can offload that resource to the cloud, and the developers, it's literally easy for the developers. They need not to, it's going to be fast. The developers can just build the smart contract in the cloud, and they will be getting that download in their PC, so they can have that thing.
Oh, cool. And how does that work with processing and storage and things like that? Like, who pays for all of that if it's going, have I got this wrong?
Yeah. So it would be, we'll be using Kurtosis cloud for that. So we have it's like in the very early discussion, like how we have to utilize that. So it's still in the process. Yes.
Okay.
That keeps us on the topic of roadmaps, actually, because I was going to ask about the Kurtosis roadmap. Is there anything upcoming, in this development cycle that you want to talk about there?
Absolutely, yeah. So you guys actually picked on one of them already. It's our Kurtosis cloud offering. So this is a button click way with a beautiful UI, obviously, to deploy a node, really, and to run your compute remotely. So maybe you need to compile a massive DApp, and your laptop is not going to handle that. And so define those instructions that I mentioned earlier, and you throw it at the Kurtosis engine, and it'll do all the hard, heavy lifting. This also includes deploying production nodes for mainnet as well, if you want to manage and deploy those things in a stress-free way. So we'll manage all of the logging and all the infrastructure under the hood. And then, as one of you guys alluded to as well, we are working on a front end. So not only is it going to be a CLI, so developers are used to CLIs in the terminal, but you can also use the UI to click buttons. I want this node on and off. I want to deploy XYZ chains, connect these two chains together in a beautiful, easy to use interface, basically. And lastly, I'll add on, as Irfan and the HugoByte team build out the DIVE package, we'll be right behind them, supporting them any and however way we can. So if there's features or capabilities that don't exist, we'll make sure to build them.
I love it. I like it. I like it for Xcall too. It's definitely tooling that's very welcome. And you know what? A UI, a user interface. If Fez and I ever manage to deploy a node, we need a UI. We cannot
100%.
handle the command line interface. I mean,
that's the intent.
Yeah.
No worries. We'll make it beautiful.
It's coming. And then to the to Fez's earlier question. So Fez says, hey, lots of computation in the cloud with Kurtosis Cloud. So the answer to Fez's earlier question, like who is handling all that computation, that's going to be Kurtosis servers, I'm assuming?
Correct. Yes. So our business model is actually for individuals who want to run like large scale, I guess, like applications or even like production mainnet nodes, that this would be like a paid offering. But obviously, as we're building it out, we welcome any and all like beta users to help us get off the ground. So yeah.
And so, Derek, when we've been talking about nodes and things, we've been talking about deploying nodes in local environments, etc. And now you mentioned production, which is mainnet. So here, to be crystal clear, we're talking about validator nodes that in the Cosmos ecosystem that you can then vote for. So you what in the background this will be is kind of like a few clicks, and what I'm trying to say is me or David, like David said, could potentially use this and deploy a validator for Icon, hypothetically, once it's all done. Call it the David and Fez validator. And
one each, come on.
Yeah. And then that's it. And then people can vote, and we can secure votes, and etc. But that's how easy. That's one of the products you're going to offer, and part of that is then you manage all the making sure that it runs in the cloud, AWS, all that stuff, so there's no downtime. That all falls. Whereas at the moment, I know there's companies that do this and thing, but we've seen a lot of clamping down on that in different areas. And there was a big saga that happened, I recall, where one company stopped people from running validators, and there was this mass migration. So this is kind of the area you're going to infiltrate and offer this services at a click of a button to make it easier for the end user.
And to add on to this, the thing that like HugoByte is building, the DIVE package, that's the same set of recipe or instruction set that is used in the cloud. And so that will be free forever. So if you, for example, would love to use it yourself, like totally, 100%, set up your own AWS server, deploy it, and configure it all on your own using the same free, completely open source package that the HugoByte team has written, completely the same. What we're doing is just offering to manage all of the infrastructure and the overhead for you in a stress-free way. And so our vision is genuinely the thing that devs are using to build dApps, the thing that the protocol engineers are using to build the blockchain, and the thing that people are using to run validators is the exact same across the entire thing. So we're all on the same page. We're using the same tooling, the framework, and obviously it's all free at that layer. So yeah, that's our vision.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, I was going to ask Irfan on the DIVE. Two questions. Question one: is it DIVE or is it D.I.V.E?
It's we can call it as DIVE. It's basically deployed infrastructure for virtually effortless blockchain integration, and we short form that to DIVE.
Okay. It's an abbreviation, but we'll stick to DIVE.
Yes.
Second question: have you, if any, been able to capture any community response yet of this tool? I know it's been moved to the xcol.dev documentation, but it has been there for 5 days, I think now. So is this the first time that the community is going to see more about this, or have you already spoken to community?
Oh, we have we have not got direct response from the community, but internal team like Cyrus have actually given a good feedback, and probably we're expecting people were facing some issues setting up the icon nodes, and we have give them instruction how to use that, but we didn't get a like a solid feedback yet. So we hope like we'll be getting that. So we are active in Discord to support them and to get the feedback also. Hopefully we'll be getting more feedbacks in upcoming time.
And we're talking Icon Discord for feedback on the DIVE.
Yes, we do have an Icon Discord as well as an HugoByte Discord. So we are actively in an Icon Discord xcol test channel.
Yeah.
Okay. We're active there. Yeah. We have been helping them, the developers with the new upcoming developers with all the issues. We are helping with that.
Yeah.
So if look, let's face it, majority of the time, many of the devs are stuck down in their work and may not take up and listen to this podcast. So, but we do know who is going to be community members, diehard community members are going to be listening to it. And they have a way of kind of, getting to the devs of their protocols and going, hey, you really need to listen to this. So if you're a diehard community member listening to this, definitely reach out to your favorite protocols, the devs that are working on them, to go, do you know about Dive? Like, I've just heard this stuff. It sounds fantastic, and it really is. So just get in there, tell them about it. That we'll have the links in the show notes and things like that all there, so you can click and show them where to go. But from earlier, Fan, you mentioned there's a demo in the repo as well, like showing everyone how to set up. Like, I know there's instructions, but you said there was a bit of a video as well, taking everyone through.
Sure. Yeah, there is a video of using the Kurtosis CLI directly, but we have eased the process with Dive CLI. So we would probably be putting out that video to, it will be helping out the developers too. So at the moment, the instructions are straightforward. It's just install in 2-3 commands, they can have the Dive set up in their PC itself.
Love it.
They just, yeah.
It's, if you would give me a UI and a YouTube tutorial, I could build a rocket ship. Like, I think that's a combination of resources.
I'm going to hold you to this.
Yeah. Send me links now. On support and resources, is there any like direction that you would want to point listeners to if they're listening in right now? If you have any resources available, or any, Irfan, you mentioned feedback, very welcome through Discord. I'll hop to Derek first. If you have any like direction that you would want to point listeners to when it comes to Kurtosis.
Yeah, so as Irfan mentioned, I think there's a HugoByte Discord, the icon Discord as well for the Dive package. But for anything relating to Kurtosis under the hood, whether it be for, you have a new use case that we'd love to talk to you about, you can definitely reach out on Discord. We are starting to point people to our GitHub discussions. So Cyrus from the Icon team actually started to post questions there as well. And so this is where we can kind of get into the nitty-gritty details with developers to understand how Kurtosis works under the hood.
Cool. Yeah, I'll post it to Irfan as well. I guess you mentioned the Discord is where you're gathering the feedback.
Yes, and we would probably be sending out a questionnaire for feedback, so we can directly get the feedback from the developers itself. Even that is also something we are thinking, and we are actually open for any feedbacks, as well as any bugs. If developers come across any bugs or they need some features they identified, okay, this is something that they would be needing, we are open for all the features. Like, we'll be helping out, supporting them in all the way, so they can put out the discussion in our GitHub repo also.
Cool.
GitHub discussions. It's the new hotspot, Fez, if you want to get in, dive in. Yeah, for anyone listening, making it this far, the Icon XCall incentivized testnet is currently running. It is filled with developer challenges. There's up and around $200,000 in prize money for teams winning challenges. There's 2-3 winners per challenge. And you can use the Dive CLI tool to basically bootstrap your project and get the job done faster, compete. Access it through xcall.dev or respective GitHubs. They're going to be in the show notes. Fez is going to make sure that they're all in the show notes. And then I guess that kind of brings us towards the end of this interview with Kurtosis and HugoByte. I would ask, is there anything else that you guys want to add? Fez, that goes for you as well.
I'll first have our guest talk, and then Derek, anything you want to, closing comments, anything you've missed that you want to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll close out with the fact that Kurtosis has been closed source actually for a lot of its life. We recently became open source this year. And so we're in the full swing of things to getting our tool into the hands of developers. So if any of the use cases I talked about today, or maybe a brand new idea that you have, please let me know. We're more than thrilled to engage and chat about what we could help and how we can get you to where you're going, even if it doesn't involve Kurtosis. We believe there's a key role we can play in advancing the Web3 ecosystem. So yeah.
Very cool. Thanks.
Yeah. So as the testnet phase is going, we want more and more developers to come to Icon and make Icon a huge success. So we are there to support you in all ways, and any feedback, as I said earlier, we are open for that. So don't hesitate, come ask Discord, and if any issue that you're facing in Dive or anywhere, like in Xcall, like that we have been supporting, so no problem, we'll just help you there. We are there to support you.
Cool.
Love it. Cool.
Yeah, thanks. Fez, do you wanna wrap it up?
Well, look, guys, really appreciate you coming on. I have to say, at the start, I was nervous. Like I said, first time we're tackling a little bit of a dev-centric topics. That's something me and David aren't used to doing. We're all about protocols and degen news and stuff like that. So this was a bit of a different take, but it's very much hand in hand what we're working on actively in the foundation, from managing projects to David doing a lot of business development, having to actually talk about the product. So I have really enjoyed personally the interview. It's shed a lot of light. I know I nag Irfan on the side, but there's only so much you can get out of a Discord back and forth versus an actual face-to-face conversation. And it is actually the first time I've seen Irfan's face as well after close to a year of working together. So it's been a really good session together. I've really enjoyed it. So thanks, guys, so much. And, kudos to you guys on collaborating, because there's Irfan and HugoByte have been working and doing a ton of work for Icon in the back with B2P and things like that. And as he said, Derek, Kurtosis was closed source, it's open source, and Irfan, you guys have come together and gone, this is perfect, Icon needs this, we can build this. And it's just this, and this is what the Web3 environment's about, right? And we see a lot of this happening on L1s like Ethereum. Everyone comes together and build these money Legos and etc. Everyone's tapping on, but that has not seemed to expand into other L1s, with all of them having their own kind of silos, where it be with dApps or just their infrastructure. And it really feels like Kurtosis is going to enable that infrastructure to be shared across whatever chain it may be, as long as there's a team like HugoByte willing to go in there and go, hey, we can use this, let's build it out, and then teams can actually utilize this tool set. So I've actually thoroughly enjoyed our session together, and I really, really appreciate you guys coming on. So everyone else listening, like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. Thank you for listening, and make sure you nag your devs. They got to listen to this. It's going to help them. A little bit of pain. What's that saying, David? Short-term pain, long-term gain. I said it right, didn't I?
You did, yeah. And then there's the other one, nag your devs.
Nag your devs.
Shout out.
Cool. Take care, guys. Really love it. Thanks for coming on the show.
Nice meeting you all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.